Any second now. It looks like we're live. Hey,
Awesome.
Bill.
Come on, Bill. How are you?
That was the first sip of that, so I will be so much better in like 14 seconds.
Nice. Good for you, man.
I'm good. I ended up having a good week. Went hard yesterday, so going pretty good. How about you?
The week was good. I beat the bet, so I did everything on the list yesterday. Um, got the last. Well, sorry. I have to do my value post today, but that's not really the hard part of the things that I'm working on or doing. Um, I did my Sherpa yesterday. Done way more than 15 reach outs this week, and actually hired a VA to do that for me on an ongoing basis. So they're going to be reaching out on my behalf. So that'll be interesting. Looking at like some cold email responses with my closer and my team to kind of look at what's working and what isn't, and what we need to adjust. I haven't really talked too much about that on here yet, but um, the week as far as my bets have been good. So the goal is to reset our bets and kind of push ourselves for next week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Does that mean you get a 20% buy-in there on your end?
The goal was to find a placement VA who was going to go around and do like promo placements. Oh, hey, you should follow this podcast, follow this guy, and stuff like that, and kind of, you know, talk me up. And I'm having some conversations, but I haven't found anybody who comes with
Oh,
any bit of process or tracking. And I can build that, but like if I'm gonna, I'm okay paying a little bit more if somebody comes in with a process. So
yeah. Okay. So your VA you said was for the other business.
yeah,
Okay, cool. That's still good. That's still fantastic, though.
yeah,
Anything off our plate? Because we talked about before going actually live for the first time that delegation was something that you and I needed to work heavily on because we both think we're good at everything.
yeah.
And we may be right about like one or two of those things, but
That's good.
so what's
Um,
up? Awesome.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said that's awesome.
Thank you. Speaking on that delegation front, I think I've come to the conclusion you just have to be incredibly persistent and
Hmm.
uh, focused. I think is the other word, because I started realizing like everything I have on my plate and the things that I want to do, and realize that I just can't do it all. So I've got this great person who is my partner, right? So like Melissa works on my team, and she handles all the content and all the or she handles all the editing and proofreading. And so one of the things I did was I said, hey, I want you to take over the entire content strategy for adaptive growth. And
Oh,
yeah, right. So incredibly uncomfortable for me, like letting that much go. But she's really good at what she does. I can't do it all. Why not like force myself and her to do this the right way? So
right, right.
we're going to start having like a weekly meeting. And I said, I want a 90-day plan. I want, KPIs. I want your guesses. I want, what you think is going to move the needle, and we'll go from there and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And did she pick that up? Run with it? Is she happy about that?
She's a little nervous, right? Doesn't like
Because of her
change.
boss? Because of her boss?
No, new things are exciting, but they're also a little bit, uh, confusing. She knows how hard I've been working on all this and everything. So for me to all of a sudden just be like, here you go, it's a little bit uncomfortable for her. I get it.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so it's just going to force me to do it.
That's
So
good. I
yeah,
love it. That's a great step.
I mean, if you're waiting for it to be easy, does it ever get
Right.
done? No.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Or if you're waiting for it to be the perfect time, it'll
yeah,
never be the perfect time.
exactly.
That's good.
So yeah,
Okay.
what
So you
about you?
hit your bets.
Did you get everything done?
I didn't. I mean, I think that's why I was nervous about yesterday coming
Yeah.
on saying I hadn't done anything. I was like, that means I'm probably not going to hit my bet. Uh, but I intentionally didn't make my bet because I wanted the ask to be quality. I didn't want to just spray and say, yeah, I hit my bet. Congratulations. Duh, duh, duh. Like I could have done 60 asks yesterday if I wanted to. No, I'm going to pay the $100. I'm saying I'm willingly giving the $100 away because I
Okay.
I didn't want. Look, I mean, my shirt. This is my company name, right? Like I have to live by my concepts. I'm not for quantity. I'm for quality. And so if I had done that, I was talking to myself yesterday. I was like, if I do this today, will it be worth the time? Because number one, well, I've hit 60 people. Yeah, that's great. I wouldn't hit the bet, but I wouldn't have had the learning, the conversations I need to have to learn how to do this better if I was flying through them. I just wouldn't have had the brain capacity to keep up with maybe one or two of those. Because I got all this other stuff I'm doing too, right? I've got all the things that were required in running a business. So I'm not saying that to say to hedge on the bet, that the bet's the bet I'm in. But I did get 20 done, and I'm happy about the 20 I got done. So,
dude, that's huge.
Which is 20 more than I did the whole last of the month. So I'm really happy about that.
There you go, right? I mean, it's steps in momentum, and the interesting thing about this is, the goal is to push ourselves, but it's also to push ourselves to do the right things. It's not just more activity for the sake of doing activity, because like that's not really what we're about anyway, right? We're trying to do things in a resource reserving method, right? And the biggest resource that we're both trying to conserve and protect is our time.
Yeah, and I care about effectiveness. Same idea, right? I want to be really effective as much of the time as possible in as many areas of my life as I can.
Exactly.
So, and that's the goal. So, okay, cool. Well, I failed the bet. That means I'm going to pay $100 to a cause that I am not for. I will do that today, and I will let you know once I've done it.
Awesome.
And you made yours, so you get 10% back. So explain that again for people. So the way our bets are working is we have a bet each week. We bet on ourselves. Right. It was each $100 this week based on our goal. How do we get paid out, John?
Yeah. So this is where your accountability partner comes into play. They need to know your bigger goals, where you're trying to get, so that way they can hold you accountable to the activities you have set for this week, move you towards your goal, or they don't, right? And the more that they move you towards your goal, or the more outside of your comfort zone they are, or volume, then what happens is you get step ups in your payout. So this week, we had agreed that if I had hired a placement VA, I would have gotten a 20% payout, but that didn't happen. So I got everything done, but we agreed it's a 10% payout. So of the $100, I get $10 to spend on whatever I want. Right? It'll probably be ice cream for the family or something along those lines. But a lot of times it's going to be selfish purchases, which I mean.
Yes. Well, we'll work on that in the Discord channel when we're talking about family goals later.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
So
you get a 10% payout this week. That's good.
So now let's reset our goals for next week.
Okay.
So what do you think you need to adjust so that way next Friday you feel good about the week without having to pay?
Yeah, well, I think 50 asks next week is a totally doable thing because I have some public appearances, if you will, that I'm going to be able to bring up my group.
Okay.
Because once again, the goal is not to get a volume of ask; it's to work backwards. It's to get as many people into my group as I can at a steady pace. And so 50 will get me, 90% of the way to the math. And then between the other two public appearances, that makes up for 10 asks in my mind. Because I'm going to be in front of more than 10 people that I'm flat out asking to join my group.
So you did 20 this week, right?
Yep.
And you said that was on purpose. So I'm curious, what's going to change between this week and next week that's going to make you do what 150% more than you did this week?
Yeah, well, I did them all in one day this past week, so I will be spreading that out.
Okay, there you go. So is that a better ask then? 10 asks per day next week?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
okay,
10 asks a day. Yep, that's the schedule.
I'm writing that down.
10 asks per day to my group. And then I need to finish my my entry offer. So I have my content camp. It's a 7-day intensive. And I have it framed out, and I have a lot of the resources pulled together already. So I actually I need to record the content this month. So the goal is to have it ready for when this current group graduates, that this upcoming 30-day group, that they're going to get that offer to go into that group.
Okay.
So I have 30 days for that. So I think the the goal for this week's going to be to have, I want to have all the material shot videoed because I've got it, it's ready to go. It's not going to take me probably more than 4 hours total to video all of it.
Okay.
I did all the prep work last week. So yeah, that's the other big one. That's I need to get 7 days of content camp filmed.
How long is a day? An hour?
I'm putting an hour and a half just for, stops and starts.
Okay. So that's about 10 and a half hours of content.
Something like that.
Okay. What else you got for next week?
And then also next week, I have got, let's see, I've got 2 big pieces of client work. My social media schedule. I want to start executing on that on Monday. So I've got it pieced together. It's together. It's just not pretty yet. So
Okay.
I'm gonna put it together officially in the spreadsheet. I just didn't get it all loaded in, but I have all the posts and the subjects and all the different places I'm gonna land it and what days I'm gonna schedule it and where, all that stuff. I got all that pulled together. So I want to execute or maybe fulfill 7 days of content on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay.
And then I also have 2 podcasts now.
Yeah.
So I have Business First Responders. It's featuring local businesses. And I have Bill here, Morning Bill.
Morning, Bill.
And so what I would like to do is discuss with my partner and Bill how we want to promote this next week. That's a goal.
Yeah.
That's strategy.
Okay. So that's one of your goals for next week?
Yep. Strategy for promotion.
Okay.
And then Business First Responders, I just need to go play the game. The rules, the game's already there. I'm just stepping in and being the player.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So that's it. That's my big goals. The podcasts are to get people into my group. So those are for the purpose of getting people to my group. So those are marketing activities.
Yeah.
I've got client work, of course, that I have to do. I've got a future content piece that's going to be something I can sell. And then I've got my actual sales business development work to do.
Nice. That feels like a lot. How do you feel about
it? It feels good because I can see where it's going to go in my week already. I'm mapping it as I'm saying it and seeing it here. I can see where it all goes.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I still have some room, I think a little bit, but I'm not going to fill it.
Okay. So how much do you want to bet on yourself? 100 again?
Yes, do 100 again.
Okay.
I want to do a different bet though, as far as the, I don't want to do like a cause this time. I want to do something. I want to put my $100 somewhere else.
Okay.
I'll pay you $100 if I don't make it.
I don't want your $100 though.
Yeah, but I don't want to give you my $100, so it's pretty motivating.
Okay. If that's what's motivating you, man, like I'm down to do it.
Well, only this week because I failed this week, and I'm not going to fail 2 weeks in a row. It's just not going to happen. So,
Okay.
So you're not getting my money next week.
Okay. All right. I'll take it.
All right. So $100 to John. Okay. What you got?
Okay. So first, I think that seems like a lot for you.
Okay.
So I think that's a 20% goal.
Okay, that's fair. It's a high volume, and I am pushing myself on the asks, even though it seems silly to me to say that that's challenging to me, because I think you and I are the same that way. As we're like, oh, you do this and you do this and you put it together like this and then it's done. What's the big deal? And then like sometimes you get there and you're like, why am I waiting? This isn't a big deal.
Yeah, I was journaling about that just last night about how, there's this, I think that I can do anything, right? Like in the future, not be nervous and everything else. And then you get in these situations and you just have these kind of like pulls towards the way that you've always done them, right? And so you have this moment, and I think the goal is to just be aware of those moments, right? And, push yourself to do the thing that's uncomfortable or the thing that's hard or the thing that moves you towards your goals.
I think you have to bring them up too, though. I think it is good to observe. First thing you have to do is observe them.
Yes.
But there is a secondary part that leads to action, which is, hey, like what we're doing right here. Hey, I did this last week. Why did I do this?
Exactly. Right. What happens is we can tell ourselves any story we want, right, after the fact, right? And you see this happening. His grandfather was in a car wreck last week or earlier this week. Older gentleman, great guy. I love him to death. But like whenever the wreck first happened, right, he totally admitted to running the red light. And now it hasn't been that long, and now the story's already changed. Well, he was running his red light too. It's like you were both running red lights, Okay. So whenever we've got these huge brains, right? And the brain will do whatever you tell it to do, right? So when you change the programming, right, through journaling or through comfort zone issues or pushing yourself, then that is where you start to grow. But there's always that elasticity that wants to pull you back into like your bad habits, the avoidance and the reluctance and everything else like this. Because I would say that the lead generating portion of selling is like the thing that I'm worst at. It's definitely the thing that brings me the least motivation.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's why we're together, right?
Exactly.
That's why we're talking about these things. Because I live and breathe lead generation, and you live and breathe sales. And let's talk about it, right?
Absolutely. All right. So we got your bet for next week, $100 at 20%. If Jake does not do his bets, I get his $100, and I'll spend it on something ridiculously amazing. How about that? If I
never gonna get it. Never gonna get it.
That's the hope, man. I don't want it. Okay, so for me for next week, I have all my usual stuff, right? I've got my Sherpa, I've got my 5 daily value posts. Let's see here. What else do I need to do? I need to figure out this placement VA thing. I need to figure out if it works, how much time it takes, the KPIs and all that stuff. So
what are the KPIs around that?
The thing is, so this is going around the assumption that promoting yourself in comments and forums where there's lots of engagement doesn't ever work as well as whenever someone else promotes you, right? So the goal is to find a VA and have them go around to things like Reddit and Quora and like these different areas where engagement happens. There's conversations around the topics that I speak on, right? Sales, entrepreneurship, productivity, and just kind of drop, oh, you guys should check out John. You guys should check out this podcast, right? And the goal would be probably to do 30 to 50 comments promoting something that I'm working on a week. Okay. But I think if I had that action going consistently, we'd be getting a lot more eyeballs, a lot more growth on the newsletter and the podcast and things like that. So it's full-fledged an experiment. I have no idea.
How well I was going to say, how long is the experiment?
I'd run it a month, right?
Okay. And you have a weekly check-in to see how much traffic it's generating, or what's the?
That's the hard part, right? Because it's not a great test because we've got everything else going on, right? So maybe I think that what I'll have to do is give them a link for like various things, adaptive growth, the throwdown, and for the Sherpa newsletter, and create custom links for that person, so that way I can track the attribution on those links very, very specifically, separate of everything else. So
okay. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Do you think it would be worthwhile to just focus on one of those from a promotion standpoint, like making one the focus and then the others kind of build around it?
Probably, right? It's funny. I was on kind of like a mastermind call with some people yesterday that Noah Kagan was putting on. Hey, Noah, if you're watching.
If you're watching.
He kind of, exactly. If Noah Kagan is watching, we're doing pretty well. We were kind of talking about my stuff, and he was like, "Man, you got too much going on." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." But he was like, "No, wait a minute, I know. Like they're all pretty close together, but they're all kind of different things, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." Yep. And it just like hit me right in the guts, right? Because part of our problem is that we think that we're smart, right? Like too smart in some cases, right? And so I think that all these mistakes and screw ups that I make and have happen are like individual to just me, and it's not, right? And I have to keep telling myself that because as long as I think that I'm clever, right, then that leads me down paths that don't really serve me in the long run a lot of times. So
I saw some quote somewhere that said clever is the enemy of what was the word they used? Done. Or clever is the enemy of effective, or one of the words we use all the time. Like clever is the enemy of that, because clever is I can do this even better, which stops production. Or like
right.
Splits focus. Clever splits focus. That's a Jake. I'm taking that one. Clever splits your focus. I think clever splits your focus, because clever left unchecked will always try to find another version or another way or a better mousetrap, because that's what clever does. It's an ingenuity. It's always thinking about, what about that? What about that?
And then there's also kind of like this like ego aspect to it, right? Of like, you see somebody doing something and you have this moment of like, oh, I can do this better. I can build a better mousetrap, and that's just not always the case, right? I mean, you can try for sure, right? And sometimes trying makes sense, but
right. But I'll tell you, here's what I'll tell you though, it's the same thing I told Lila Smith. So if Lila, if you're watching, what's your goal though? Is your goal as a business owner to make money? Yes, first and foremost, so you can keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. The shiny thing, what's weird is Jeff always talked about how the shiny thing would pull him off track, and it was always this constant thing. And I didn't really see that for what it was until this, really, because Corona hit, and it's like, okay, cool. Like let's open ourselves up to pivots, and things like this. Yep. And, I don't know if you and I have talked about this. Exactly. It's waiting there. It's just waiting there to pull me off track. Well, one of the things that I talk about is, I heard this on a conference once. The successful things that you're doing that are making you successful don't stop making you successful. We take ourselves off of that path because it's, there's a better way, or a way that's easier, or man, if I could have 10% of the time that I have spent trying to make things easier back, oh man.
That percent is way higher for me. At least 50. Yeah. And I think also the things that make you successful oftentimes are really boring. That's one of the major things that I got from James Clear's book, right? The Atomic Habits one is, he has all this great science, but one of the major messages I just keep getting is the boring stuff is what keeps things working. It's the 80-20 rule for business. The message that I've heard kind of, over the last year or two, in the last 6 months specifically, since kind of the Rona, as you so elegantly put it, has come on us, is that the plan for the 20% in your day, schedule it, and be as clever as you want. But the other 80% of your day, do the boring stuff, or hire someone to do the boring stuff so that you keep growing.
Yeah. I posted this as my value post yesterday. Write down everything you do in a week, everything you do, and then write down how much time it takes, and then give it a dollar amount for that like activity. $1, $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000. And if you have activities that are $1 and $10 values, and you're still doing them yourself, write some instructions and let someone else do them. Because if they're that low of a revenue generator for you, the instructions don't even have to be that great, right? Because there's the bigger the revenue generating activity is, the more thought you need to put into like the process creation and the documents and the setting of expectations. But get it off your plate.
Yeah. I had a great conversation about that with sales, and that, well, I can't really afford to hire a VA yet. Yes, you can. You can spend $200 to offload, $200 a week to offload something so that you can spend more time selling.
Yeah.
Period. You'll get it back in spades. And then if you don't like selling, like truly, it's not your thing, guess what? You still have to do it until you can hire someone else to do it.
Yeah.
But just go make some money and then hire a salesman. That's.
And what's crazy is that whole thing is like shifting, right? Because sales has always been kind of hard to hire for, but thanks to the gig economy, and if you can generate the leads, and you just like this is what I've been working on and doing with clients and consultants, is cool. You have an offer, you're scared to get on the phone. I get that, right? What if I could show you a way to not be scared about it anymore, and you could double your rates,
Right.
right? Because if you're one of these guys and you have a super long funnel and everything else like this, and you're just like selling to people whenever you want to and everything else, that might work, right? But you got to be able to have a conversation at above a certain price point, right? If you're doing a course or anything like this, and you know that that value is more than what it is, but you just can't seem to get people to take you at that like top end of your range,
Yeah.
it's because you're not getting on the phone and there's not enough trust in the marketing, right? So
And
I think of,
consistency.
yeah, I think of marketing as this kind of like sliding scale, right? The more marketing you have, the less the salesperson needs to do. But
Right.
the inverse of that is also true, right? When you don't have lots of marketing and social proof and everything else like this, the salesperson has to do more. So
Yeah.
if you're an agency owner or client or consultant or whatever, you figure out how to generate the lead yourself, right? And dial that portion of it in. Build a sales process, right? The right questions, right? What kind of things do you say no to? All of these things. And then give it to somebody else, because if they don't have to generate their own leads and all they have to do is show up and have a good conversation and qualify and then close, that's when commission only makes sense. It's when these companies want, to bring someone on with no leads, right? And they got to figure it all out and they got to reinvent the wheel by themselves and everything else like this. That's why you have 7-month, 8-month, 12-month ramp up times, because why should they have to go figure it out on their own when the data is there in your head? You just
talk to me about that, okay? Because there's this, I like it because I agree. We've talked about this sliding scale. I think maybe we should do an episode just on the sliding scale and talking about key measurements and things like that. But like, my assumption is that hunters are okay with less marketing because they'll go out and have conversations and they don't need as much lead up to be comfortable, right?
Exactly.
Farmers want the leads that have got all the marketing. And so that they're just having comfortable conversations. It's almost like internal sales, right? It's like this just comfortable, this comfort nature. Is that something that's realistic based on like what your company looks like? Can certain companies be very hunter heavy and have less marketing and others the other way around? Or does everybody is there a middle section that everyone needs to be in to be like prime, like optimal sales?
Well, that's a really good question. So a lot of it depends upon how the business is set up, right? I mean, in SaaS companies, there's this whole SDR model that's incredibly well established and entrenched. And then you go to a demo, and then the demo is the close and everything else like this. And one could argue that a lot of these people are rushing to give a demo because they're putting all this pressure on the demo and they could do a better job qualifying. But that's another conversation for another day. So I think that becoming a hunter or a farmer is much about understanding your motivations more than anything else, right? Because when you're clear around the activities that you do and the value that they have, and you've got the right mindset or anything else like this, it doesn't matter anymore, right? So then the goal supersedes the pressure or the uncomfortability of having that, right? So that to me is why I break everything down to like a weekly count and like a daily count. Because man, even 50 reach outs, man, I feel a little bit in my stomach of like, oh man, am I going to get this done? But then when I break it down to like a daily count, 10 per day, I can do that.
No problem. Right? So the reason I was kind of asking the question, right, is like I'm more of a farmer, like, which is so funny because people have told me for the last 10 years of my life, man, you would kill in business development with the right company, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not really a hunter. And so I think that's maybe my default for what I think a salesperson is. But knowing full well that there's a farmer side too as well. It's just the hunter is what's always talked about. So like if you're a business owner and you're a farmer, for example, that's just your personality, right? You need more marketing to feel comfortable getting on sales calls. But if you're a hunter, it's the opposite. So my question was kind of aimed at like, I wouldn't necessarily say you're a hunter. You can put on the hunter outfit, but I do think you lean more towards the middle. So how do you do that? How do you break that down for yourself as a salesperson? What is there anything someone could do and go, well, I'm a hunter, I need to do this, or I'm a farmer, I need to do this?
So there's a bunch of different ways of looking at this, right? On the personality side, if we're talking about DISC, if you're that DI or ID, then you're that golden ratio. Like whenever people are looking just on paper at who they want to hire, that DI personality type is who they're looking for, right? If you watch the podcast, I mean, that's Clint and Al, right? When somebody runs this assessment, if they're treating the assessment as a black or white indicator as to whether or not they should hire someone, which is not the way you're supposed to do it, then no one hires me. Nobody does, right? But it's not that I can't be successful in like a hunter focused role. It's just I'm going to struggle because it's outside of my natural zone. And so then what happens is you have to build accountability, you have to build systems, and you have to build
Right.
tracking to make sure that you're not lying to yourself.
Well, and then when things get stressful, you tend to fall back into your natural nature as opposed
Well,
to that forced nature that you're working in.
yeah, exactly, right? Because when you're under pressure, you lose the ability to access the things that are on the edge of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is you go running back to the things that are tried and true. And Jake, man, we see this in ourselves, right? Like, through through the bajillion years of our friendship, right? Like you've seen me get stressed out, and what happens is I get less creative. I have no empathy, and I just put my head down and almost take on this. I just got to get through kind of mentality, which isn't always the most helpful thing.
Right.
And on your side, right, whenever you get scattered, you do the standard kind of like I think of like, let me think around this problem a little bit.
Right.
And our gut instinct under pressure is very different, but that's because we're on polar opposite ends of this one personality spectrum.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's forcing yourself to do it. I think it's betting on yourself. And it's consistent effort, right? Because the longer you go without doing something, the more uncomfortable it's going to feel, right? Like the first time I go back to jujitsu or the gym, on the other side of this, there's going to be some friction there, right? So you just have to like, and this is where the James Clear stuff comes in, the micro habit of that first 30 seconds of it. So that way you can do it effortlessly. Okay. The goal is not to go to class and have a good class. The goal is to put on my gi.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the very, very toughest parts for any entrepreneur or any business owner is consistently going back to the micro habits every single day and taking the time to understand what your micro habits for today are. Because once again, I'm like, you're a Noah Kagan junkie. I'm a James Clear junkie. Is that, it's like, don't promise yourself you're going to the gym. Promise that you're going to put your shoes on.
Yeah.
Put your athletic shoes on and put them by the front door so you can see them when you wake up. Like that's the micro habit that's going to eventually develop into the next micro habit, to the next, to the next, to the next. So totally for that. What do you think about bringing somebody on who's got goals, who wants to chat a little bit?
I'm down. Do we have anybody?
Possibly here. Gabriel, I'm going to send you a link if you want to hop on the Zoom call with us. Gabriel has a podcast. Okay. He's got a live stream that he rolls and watched a few episodes, and he's a writer. But I'll let him tell us about it if he wants to hop on.
Yeah.
But he's looking to figure out how to monetize this and turn it into a full-time thing. And so I've been chatting with him a little bit. One sec, let me chat him here. All right, I just chatted him. We'll see if he comes back. In the meantime,
I need to go over the rest of my goals. We got
let's do that.
All right. So 1 Sherpa, 5 daily value posts. I need to either figure out the placement BA and pull the trigger, or just say that it's not going to work. So we will have a go or no go next week on that. I need to. I've been writing so much content for clients in the course and everything else like this. I've not been writing about blog stuff. So for John Small Mountain, which is like the blog around where my exploring and everything else like this, I need to write a couple of blogs for that to get that in the can, so that way Melissa has something to edit. And then 2 new pieces of course content, right? Or consulting course content stuff. And then I need to finish my vomit draft for the book.
Vomit?
Yeah.
I understand. Got it.
Yeah. Signed up for this funnel from Tucker Max. Right.
Yeah.
And he calls his rough draft the vomit draft. And I think that that's pretty awesome, right? Because it's just kind of already changing it from like rough draft to like vomit draft makes me feel okay about it being terrible.
Yeah, it's a framing thing, right? He's okay with you're okay. Yeah, draft should be a vomit. I think a lot of people think of draft as the one right before it goes live. So okay, cool. I got Gabriel. He's in the waiting room here. So
awesome.
Anyway, finish up your goals real quick, and then we'll bring Gabriel.
So 1 Sherpa, 5 daily value posts. I need to figure out the placement BA and pull the trigger or call that thing over. I need to write 2 blogs, 2 course content, and finish up the vomit draft for the book. That's a lot.
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm just thinking that. And then book draft, is that what you said?
Yeah, book draft. I've got the book outline talking about like how to manage sales and small business for like service companies and how to scale it and how to, hire closers, how to bring people, how to pay out commissions, so it's going to be a little bit of everything. And it's just all the stuff that I work on with clients and ideas and things that I've found and uncovered along the way, because I think that the way that I think about selling is different enough that I've got to go back to a book. I don't think that I can get buy-in and change just through like blog content and blog posts. I think I got to back up a little bit more and build more authority around it.
All right. Well, let's put a pin in that because I want to talk about that more too. Because I have a book that I've been trying to write, and I put it on pause. So we'll talk about that more. Maybe not today. But. All right. Let's get Gabriel on here. One sec. I met Gabriel at a roundtable discussion that Lila Smith held.
Okay.
One of her Say Things Better activities that she does. And there he is in the car.
Hey,
what's going on?
Hey, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Good.
Good, man. We catch you on the way to work. What you get going on?
No. Actually, this is my day job. So.
Okay.
Nice.
I actually do right now the whole broadcast thing that I usually do is just at this point it's a passion project, but it's become so much of what I love doing that I want to turn it into something more than that.
Right.
Okay.
Because again, it is here, and the thing that I've discovered doing this is the fact that there's so many people out there who kind of want to do the same thing. They want to learn how to do this. And, I tell everybody that whenever I have a guest on and who's not too familiar with what live streaming is and how you can actually use it like a tool, like you guys are using it right now, what its intended purpose is when I say live streaming is a tool. You go on here, you connect with people, you provide information and value that people can actually learn from. Like I've been watching you guys since you started really doing this, and I'm taking notes and tidbits from what you're talking about because it is stuff that I can use myself as I learn more and more about trying to even make this a permanent career move to turn this into again what I want to do for however long I have left going on this earth. This is
nice.
Right.
It brings people the opportunity to create forums like this. So I've had plenty of people reach out to me. Now, what's the point I've reached is trying to put all this together to find a way to actually make money and sustain myself to do this. Because again, I've done a few free sessions with a few people where I've kind of put a whole PDF program together about what tools that I use, what I use, walk them through a video session of how I create, what I create and that sort of thing. And again, I tell a lot of people, look, one of the things that I try to concentrate on is doing this for most people, because a lot of people, first of all, don't know how to do it. So they don't want to invest tons of money into equipment, into all the things that you see. Like if you watch a YouTube video, all the fancy guys are going to tell you, you need to buy this $500 camera, buy this type of tripod. I try to do it on a budget where it's affordable because I know most people don't have tons of money into throwing into something like that. So I try to keep it very, very reasonable to start out doing a live stream.
So Gabriel,
yeah.
So we can reset for people. You've got you're a creative guy. You're saying that you would like to help people put a live stream or some sort of digital product together who are creatives, who are trying to share their creativeness, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're teaching them how to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, to not only do it, but also do it again on a really good, tight sort of budget, so that you don't break the bank.
What's the passion part of it for you? It's the creative side, right? It's not the live stream. It's the creative part, right?
It's the creative part and being able to reach out to people. This is something that I did not expect to be one of the things that I love doing, because I'm learning every single day from somebody else. Just like I'm learning from you guys right now. I am learning something about myself and how to develop myself every single day. And that to me has been one of the silver linings doing this. Is finding the ability. Again, like last night, I learned something about myself last night with the show I had on. You know, I had Steve Sullivan on. If you're not connected with him, check him out. He knows Lila and that sort of thing. But here was the thing is, we were talking about what I was doing, and he was telling me, you know, it's wonderful that you're doing this. This is really great. Do you see any kind of, you know, is there one thing that you think you're dropping the ball on? And I said, you know, to tell you the truth, yes, I've dropped the ball quite a bit with communications with my wife and my family because I've been doing it. It's become consuming. And kind of why he walked me through, you know, like you really need to, as much as you're scheduling this to help other people, you also need to start scheduling this to do this with your family the same sort of way. Attack it the same way that you're doing this as you're doing Passion here. Do it with your family as well. I'm going to tell you what, he said, he kind of walked me through his experiences, how he lost his wife and his kids because of certain things. And he's like, and I'm just trying to share my experiences with you that, you know, take the time to do this before it becomes a regret, whether you lose something more than you know what you're going to lose.
Yeah, John and I talk about that a lot, is that we both love to work a lot. We love what we do, and it becomes time consuming. I think you nailed it. And I think that as we've gotten older in our friendship, actually, we've challenged each other more and more to focus on the parts that are going to make money and help people be really impactful with what we're doing, and then schedule time away. Because otherwise, John and I would work 24/7 if possible.
Exactly.
So, John, what do you think about what Gabriel's doing?
So, Gabe, I'm curious. You know, you said that the goal is to make this your full-time effort, right? How much money does this need to be generating for it to become your full-time effort?
You know what? Here, for me to be comfortable, I would have to make about at least $3,000 a month.
Okay.
Try to make this a comfortable way to live, because I've learned to live. First of all, I've learned to live on just the basics and necessities of life. Right? I don't have an extravagant lifestyle. I don't do a lot of extra things. Not that I don't want to, but again, I find joy and passion in doing stuff that's creative for me, like writing and stuff that's free. I don't have to spend tons of money or invest money into doing these sort of things.
And honestly, that's better anyway, right? Because, you know, there's never like a great time to go out on your own. You know, my buddy Hayden is contemplating, you know, that at some point in the future, and in our conversations, he's like, how do I know when it's time? It's like, I mean, you don't know when it's time. Like you just try to, you know, you do that as a side hustle, right, as you can, but like you got to work towards a goal, right? And so right now, this idea that, man, $3,000 a month, that's easy, right? I mean, not like it's easy, but it's not simple, right? So it's one of those things. So, okay, is this like an ongoing service? Like someone is going to pay you X amount per month for help with their stream, or is this just like you get them set up with a camera? Like how can you monetize what you're doing?
I think there's a way to do both. Trying to get people, if they want to do it just for a first time, to learn how to go through the course and then let them go out on their own. And there's also a way that you can also actually create and produce these shows for people on an ongoing basis. So if there's somebody who doesn't want to deal with the technical aspect of putting the show together, booking the guests, putting all this stuff together, actually put it in what I've learned, how to do this so far, just by, I mean, I knew nothing. So putting all this together and learning this from scratch has been a real experience for me. And I can turn this into doing it for another person, a few other clients who want to do, again, live streams. They want to have guests on that are impacting, you know, what their business is or that sort of thing, tailored towards what they create. So all they have to do is really show up. Here's a lot of the pre-notes. Here's the things that your bio on a guest. Here's what you guys are going to lay out talking about, you know, and then just turn on the camera and go. Don't worry about the post-production. Don't worry about the media, about putting it out on social media. Let me handle all that, and then charging up a a fee for it every episode.
Gabe, if I was starting over, and John, tell me what you think about this, I would focus 100% of my effort on creating programs around things that you really, really care about that solve problems for people that you know already exist. I spent a lot of time on the digital marketing side, agency side, marketing, all that stuff, doing things people wanted done, but that I hated doing because they paid me well. So if you can start and don't have to do that, I would recommend, because unless you just want to be a show producer, that's something that eventually you could offer that someone else could be doing for you as part of your offering, right? But to start, especially when you're going, I want to go out on this, I need to make about $3,000. I'd say stick to the ideas of what could make me $3,000 a month that I'm already strong at that would not be real tough work for me. What do you think, John?
Yeah.
I agree. Because like the whole thing about the lives is that it's supposed to be like super easy. You just hit a button and then you're live, right? I mean, it's not supposed to be overproduced, right? And that's kind of the reason why we're doing this, because if it had to be this like overly produced thing that took up a lot more time, or like we wouldn't do it. But Jake and I were going to do this anyway, so let's do it live, and that way there's not a lot of pressure on us, and we can hold ourselves accountable. But the I think that you might have something around like formatting and topics and lining up guests and stuff like that, because like that's a service that everybody needs. If you're creating content, you have to constantly be producing like new content, right? And that's kind of the trap. So if you can get, man, I mean, I don't think that's difficult, right? Of like, hey, look, I'm going to show you how to launch a live and how it's going to impact your brand. I'm going to make sure that your branding is on point with it. I'm going to figure out like scripts and formatting. We'll find you guests, and then I will help you pick out the right equipment for your needs. Cool. Like I'd pay you $500 for that, and then at least $500 a month if you're going to do all that for me on a regular basis, right? So then you only need 6 clients, man. 6 clients.
Right. And you can take the format, like the trap he's talking about is live stream is great for documenting. I think documenting journeys. And so that makes your load a lot easier so that you're not having to constantly figure out, gosh, what's my next topic going to be? What's something else that people want to hear about? It's like, no, here's the journey we're going on. And I think it's going to work great for creatives, because creatives are always on a journey somewhere trying to figure something out. So you help them document that and document the journey on a live stream.
Yeah. And again, one of the things that, that I love about like with the app that I'm using is not only do I get to record what I do on video, right? I also get an audio from it, and I turn it into an audio podcast as well. Which is, that is super simple, and it's most of it's using it through Anchor and stuff like that is free. All it's really is to work is creating the show notes if I want to put them in there so they can talk through what the guest was about, what the topics, any links that the guest wanted to share, that sort of thing.
Hold on, that's the jam right there.
Yeah.
Right, because think about it, right? The lives are never going to be like greatly produced or like have like a whole lot of like high end value. They're not going to have like your like watermarks and your branding in the corners and all of these things, because you might be able to, but that takes effort. But like, what if these people could get on and do like a blast of like talking to their clients or their team or something like that, and then you repurpose that into a slightly upscaled.
That's exactly sort of the point of where I'm heading with this.
Okay.
Now, if you've ever seen my show, I also, again, I do my show. I do what you're talking about, where I do put in the effort to make all the watermarks, the brands.
He does. It's a nice looking show. It's by looking at ours.
So I put a lot of technical effort into it, because that's for me, that's my paintbrush. That's the creative aspect of what I get to share every single show. So each show is individual. It's got its own little thing about who's on there. So each guest comes on, they feel special. That's what we talk about, and that's what we do. And then again, after the show's done, right, it creates a link for me to share on YouTube. The content's already there, which is awesome. I don't have to go back and redo that. It's just a shareable link. I create thumbnails for it so I can make my channel look nice, but I can do this for anybody. Go and do SEO tagging, do all this other stuff, to kind of help build the brand up. I had 0 subscribers when I started. I have 478 now.
Nice.
So it's consistently growing, and I'm growing across multiple channels, which is something that most people don't do. They usually tell you niche on one channel or one kind of social media. I'm actually on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and of course I stream to my website, which I've created to put past episodes there. You can find links to my podcast. You can find I have an internet radio station that I've created, so you can go listen to some of the guests that I've had on. I've had musicians on, so I put their music on there. I streamed some of the past audio from the show podcast on there. So there's I got a lot going on.
Yeah. Have you put this into like a product idea yet, Gabriel?
Not yet, because when I started, Jake, that was never the intention, but it's becoming the intention now.
Okay.
So let's dig in a little bit, because you're doing a really good job of promoting yourself on our show. But like, let's come up with some stuff to hold you accountable to. Does that sound fair?
Yeah. So that's why I was kind of sharing with Jake what I have like planned out. Again, because I have to do all the show prep for next week now. I'm
Okay.
actually, so I know about my guests already. I'm booked 2 weeks in advance, almost 3 weeks in advance. So I know who my guests are, what I need to do as far as creating all the stuff that I need to get done, which is creating the broadcast, putting all the again, all the little extra stuff that I do that you don't have to. That's why I tell everybody, live stream, you can just hop on what you're doing now.
Yeah.
This is the creative side of
Let's
what
do
I love
something
to
about
do.
that. Yeah, let's do something about that.
But hold on real quick, right? So you have all these activities for your show, right? How is your show moving the needle to get you to this 3K so that way you can do this full time?
Okay, so here's the thing is, so I don't have to go overly produce somebody's show, but I can produce a show for them. So like what you're talking about, and then I'll also create content that they can go on, use across multiple platforms. So
Okay.
when you do a show, right, here you go, here's an audio podcast of your show, right? Oh, by the way, here's a couple teasers that I've created from your video there.
Yeah.
Purpose on your brand or whatever you're talking about.
And so
you're talking about,
do you have a package?
Not yet. That's what I was telling him. I'm
okay.
just officially
Yeah.
starting to put
You're in the beginning
together.
stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the real quick,
There's two
right?
products there.
The productized version of your consulting happens after you have lots of people buy your consulting, right?
Right.
And I think that people get this, right? Because a lot of people want to jump to the productized consulting package, and you see the ClickFunnels marketer guys and everything else like this. And okay, but like they have worked with clients on that stuff to the point where they've worked out the kinks, so that way they can have this productized thing. So my advice is like, don't, and I'm saying this because I fall into this trap, don't go so far down the path of like, okay, I can't sell this to anybody until it's perfect, right? It's not going to be perfect the first couple of times. So don't make that the thing. Go have conversations. Hey, look, if we could take a 15-minute daily stream that you get in where you talk about your clients and what you're working on and stuff like that, and we could purpose that into a podcast and other content and increase your branding and stuff, would that be worth a conversation? Right?
I think
Like
yeah.
that's what's going to move the needle for you right now, right?
And
Go.
I was going to say also, podcasting as a business has become really great because you can interview your potential clients, and at the end, they really like that what came out of it. And you can go, hey, John's conversation he just had.
That's true. There's a guy. Yeah, there are lots of guys who do that really, really well, right? The whole podcast is just like an interview kind of authority building kind of process, and it works pretty well for those guys. I'm
getting that now with the video stream. So when I get off, right, these are people that are going, okay, wow, I just loved what I saw. This was great. How can I do it? I'm getting that now. So this is why it came to that point where I said, you know what, I have to start doing something about this. Because it was an
so let's make a goal about that, Gabe. Right? Like let's set a big hairy reach out goal. Right? Okay. Like how many people can you talk to next week about live streams and branding and podcasts, and see if there's a reason for them to hire you? Like how many people can you reach out to?
How many past guests do you have?
Yeah.
I have.
Here's the deal. You can make 400 asks because you have a show that people are watching. So it's uncomfortable, but get on there and be like, hey guys, if you would like me to do this for you, I can. Let's have a conversation, reach out and do this thing. Like,
yeah. You know what? I never thought about that. that's an interesting fact. I mean, that's an interesting thing I've never actually thought about doing, was going on there and asking, because I've actually done this with my show where I had a guest host. I just technically produced it. I wasn't part of it. So I do have examples of like what, if you wanted to see what it would look like. I have 2 shows where I've done this, where it was a separate guest. I remotely produced the whole show. I did everything ahead of time. And, to kind of pull clips from that and say, look, this is what I can create. This is what I can create. Well, I did that for a reason.
All right, so let's talk about this because this is important. Because you're fired up right now. Like you're excited, like you're passionate about this stuff. Okay, so where does the passion disconnect? Because if you were this fired up about this all the time, you would already be at 3K.
Exactly.
Right. So where is the disconnect? Is the disconnect that you don't feel like it's ready? You don't feel like there's value? You don't feel comfortable talking about money? You don't feel comfortable prospecting?
Or did you literally just think of this idea in the last 2 days and just haven't had time yet?
True.
That could be it too.
It's literally been within the last week.
Okay.
I actually thought about putting this all together, because again, for me, what I was concentrating on.
We might have lost Gabe.
Well, assuming he comes unfrozen, this is a place that you and I have been a whole lot on different projects. We get really fired up about things and like, we're going to do this. Yeah. Right. And, so I think Gabriel definitely has something there, because he already has an audience. He already has kind of a product in mind. Yeah. I love what you said. I think he can do asks from his show. We do it at the end of every one of our shows.
Yeah.
And then he could do some manual ask of past guests already know him and like him. There's no reason he couldn't go talk to 20 of them next week.
Absolutely. That's the easiest thing on the planet.
Oh,
okay. Since he's frozen, let's kick him so that way we're not in a try screen. There we go.
There you go.
But yeah, Gabe, get out there and go talk to people. Like you can have ideas are worth literally nothing if you take no action on them, right? And this is the thing that I have been beating myself up about. And it's weird because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear kind of thing. And so I'm seeing all of these people talk about focus and intention and, discipline for people that I'm not used to hearing about it from. So what that means to me is that I'm just really primed for that, but go do something that's going to move that needle, right? Make it into a process. Every person who comes on your show, you're going to ask them at the end of it, hey, would this be worth a conversation for something for your brand or business? Right? Do that. Go look at brands that you really like and just build a list of 5 brands that are local that somebody at or something along those lines, and reach out to those people and start working towards something. Stop thinking about it and act, which is me absolutely calling the kettle black, right? So I overthink everything.
Yep. And I underthink everything. So there we go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I love that, because that's some really practical, real stuff. People out there's a lot of people in his boat who are thinking about, especially with COVID going, is this what I really want to do with my life for the next 10 years, 20 years? I'd rather do something else. And so it really is, like you said, it's not simple. What is it? It's easy, but not simple. It's simple, but not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's simple, right? Go find people that want what you want. Ask them if they're interested, if you did something about it, and go make some asks and build it as you do it. Right. I love what you said about not coming up with these productized, versions.
That's the pressure if you're in consulting, right? Because everyone talks about dial your offer. That dialing of the offer is working with clients and figuring out what do they see value from, where are their impacts? Because the thing for Gabe and honestly for everybody else is until there is a financial impact or some sort of impact to the business or the person, you're a nice to have, right? And no one pays a premium for something that's nice to have unless there's some big pleasure at the end of it, right? Yeah, otherwise it's just I'll wait.
Yeah. And me and James over at Quick Advertising were talking about this yesterday, is as we're pivoting over there to try and create better offers moving forward, is how can you be a solutionist, not a service provider? Yeah. That's such a huge filter that most people don't think about on a daily basis. They're like, oh, we got to get this thing done. We have to sell this thing. We have to get this product done. We have to get people into this group, blah, blah, blah. It's but if you reset, and that's partially what this is about, right? It's every day, what am I solving that's going to create a huge impact in someone's life today? What solution can I bring to them? Now, it may be only this much of a solution of my whole solution, but if you're solution minded, that keeps you on the customer's radar longer, and, loyalty and referrals and all that sort of stuff.
And then there's also, in the consulting world, there's this whole idea of, you sell something to get in the door, right? And, depending upon what circles you're running, those are called different things, tripwires and, monkey's paws and things like this. But, you don't try to sell everybody everything on the very first thing, because it comes across as bad, right? I mean, if you're, let's put this into like an agency context, right? And you're talking to someone and they're talking about wanting to be found on Google, right? SEO, right? If you show up with a proposal that's got SEO and paid search and content marketing and why? They didn't see any value in those things. If you didn't have a conversation about them, why are you trying to present around those things? Because what happens is they don't necessarily know that they can say, oh, I don't want those things. I just want this thing. So if they don't step up and take that action, then they're just going to tell you no to the whole thing. And you shot yourself in the foot because you try to swing for the fences as opposed to getting on base. Go get on base.
Oh yeah. That's a huge miss for agencies. And we were actually talking about some of that too, is you can either productize those things and sell to the thing that they want and then bring them on to the other things as you educate them, or you can filter and say, if all you want is paid, PPC, we're not your agency, right? That's not how we work.
I went and had coffee with Jeff yesterday, and just because we can't help ourselves, we started role playing like some sales conversations. And he's got this great line that I love a lot. And Jeff, if you're not watching this, but I'm stealing this line, and it's, okay, how much does it cost? Great question. How much impact are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How deep down the path do you want to go? Mm-hmm. Right? Because in what I do and what Jeff does, and honestly in what you do, like I can give people tricks, right? Yeah. Like I can sit down and I can write out a page of questions that will help you get really good pain and have really good conversations with prospects and stuff like that. But if you don't feel like you're allowed to ask those questions, you won't. Mm-hmm. Right? So like how much help are you wanting? Right? And I think that's important, right? Because it's a better way of saying, well, it depends. How much do you want to spend? Because like everyone is used to that and the walls come up. So, but that's the thing, right? Time is money and money is access. So how much change are you really looking for from this thing? Are you just looking for some tips and some tricks, or do you want to go the full way and do it right with the best practices and build a foundational change?
Well, I love that. As I'm thinking through DMs on social media, as you get into a rapport conversation and you're uncovering pain points, how much help are you looking for? Because that helps you sell the right thing in the next few messages and dig down. It's like segmenting on email list, right?
For sure.
It's like what's the thing you need? Okay, click this for this article. Oh, now you're on this segment of my email list because that's what you've asked for. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I love that. That's great. Jeff, if Jeff ever watches this, thanks. Somebody needs to steal that too.
Because, there is this thing, right? Because there is this pressure to productize so that way it's easy and you can scale and all of these things. But man, like that's that last 20%. You got to go get beat up and, deal with the 80% before you can come out of it and say, okay, cool. Here is the package of what I deliver that actually brings the most value and everybody loves. Like you got to go work with some people before you do that. So don't put the cart in front of the horse. Go figure out what they do, because we can tell ourselves anything. Oh, there's so much value in this. If they don't buy this, they're idiots. But like that's us telling ourselves this, right? And we're not our own target market in 99% of cases. So it doesn't matter how much you think it is great. Do your clients and prospects think it is great?
Right. Exactly. That's what matters. Cool. Well, I got 9 o'clock, so we got to wrap this thing. Anything else? Did we leave anything else out? Did we get your bet?
No, not yet. So a Sherpa, 5 daily value posts. I need to figure out the placement BA thing or call it over. 2 blogs, 2 content pieces around the consulting and the course and everything else, and then a vomit draft for the book.
Okay. Here's the last thing I want to talk about on your list is like my gut reaction is given 20%. That's a lot. My thoughtful reaction is I don't want to reward you for volume.
That's fair.
I'm split between that because I think one of the things I want to keep working on from my side with you is whittling down your activities to be more focused on one very specific goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you get that done, great. That's great.
And that's my struggle, right? Because like I was thinking about this yesterday. Right now, I either need to pick days of the week to focus on different projects. I think that might bring some stability and peace to my life. What, you don't like that?
I think you should focus on one of the businesses and then drip feed the other ones.
That's fair, right? And
weeks
honestly, you know, the majority of the work right now is going towards adaptive growth and consulting clients and stuff like that. The Sherpa newsletter, honestly, takes me about 20 minutes to knock out, but it is something I want to grow because everybody always asks me like what I'm reading and what I'm into and stuff like that. So it's cool. Here's this one place.
Yeah.
There's affiliate links on there, but you know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's if you're up for it, let's whiteboard your big goal and back it into your 3 companies and just look at priorities, because I think that's an activity a lot of people could also get some own thoughts about I'm doing too much. How would I use this formula? Because I have a formula I use. Part of one of the things I offer is clarity of purpose. Why are you focusing on these 2 things if you just told me this is your goal and it's making you the money? Oh, I still want to do it. Great. So what's your priority? Do you still want to do this, or do you want to grow this? You know, like that sort of stuff. So
yeah, you know, I was thinking about how I got myself into this predicament, right? Of having so many things.
John Hill.
like it could be anybody else's fault other than mine. You know, I'm like, who's in charge of saddling me with all this work? But part of it is, I mean, the John Small Mountain stuff and the Sherpa newsletter is just like my journey, right? So, you know, I don't really know what monetizing that looks like. I mean, honestly, and honestly, I'm not terribly concerned, right? Like the purpose of that blog very specifically is to write around stuff that would have been helpful to me 5 to 7 years ago. So if nobody reads it, and then one guy who's working at Chase Bank and is tired of doing like his morning 1, 2, 3 drills and everything else like this, and they're like, man, I really want to
get that one. Hurry.
Yeah, exactly. With old Casey Collins.
Hi, Casey.
Hey, Casey, if you're watching. So yeah, I mean, if one person reads it and they take action, then I'm good, right? I mean, obviously, I would love to make money off of it, and that's where the Sherpa newsletter comes in, right? Because you know, I can reference my stuff in the newsletter whenever it makes sense. I can also drop in affiliate links for things that I'm interested in and using and recommend to other people. But everything's about adaptive growth right now. So the blog is just the documentation of that, because before starting all of this, I was just going to try to go get, you know, like an enterprise level sales role, because I never sold at the enterprise level, and I thought that would be kind of interesting, and then realized that I don't really want to do that. And since all my experiences in small business, making that huge jump to enterprise was going to be a bit of a struggle. So it moved from this kind of legitimization blog to just like a document, a documentary blog kind of deal. And then when I'll put this out there, this is highly uncomfortable. So I hired a marketing and sales partner, right, for adaptive growth. Had a good conversation, significant investment, and you know, it didn't really work out very well, right? So I've got some sunk cost in that, which makes me uncomfortable. So when we first started talking about doing the podcast, we were still building out the sales and marketing arm of this. And so I was thinking that I would have nothing but time, because the sales and marketing partner would be taking off all the sales and all the marketing, and I'm just servicing clients. Right. And that has not been the case. So
the question becomes, why are the plates all still spinning? I think that's the big question for you, is why you're talking about part of it right now. And I gotta run. Sorry.
No, you're
good. What's your bet? Did you tell me what your bet is?
I'm going to take off the vomit draft.
Okay.
Actually, because I do think that will be a lot, because I've got the outline, and the outline is full. So any work on the vomit draft is just like extra. How about that?
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's
fair.
Yeah, I'm going to bet $200. What do you think the payout is without the vomit draft?
Sherpa, 5 value post, 2 blogs,
VA, 2 blogs,
sport content, placement VA decision. You
can say 10% if you want to.
It's 10%. There's nothing hard in there for you.
Yeah, it's just volume and focus. So
I'll say 75% that's already scheduled every week for you. So
yeah,
it's 10%. Okay, and then the one thing I would want to leave you with then is it possible Yes, it's possible. Are you willing to think about how you take all three of those entities? How can you combine them into one funnel? You have one entry point. You can help people segment where they want to go and automate all that and focus on adaptive growth if that's the thing making you money, and find an exit plan to go to something else if that's what you want. Just like we're telling Gabriel, exit plan, do this, create this. So I think it'd be worth thinking about that. Journaling about that, questions only about that.
I'm currently building a John Small Mountain page on ClickFunnels, to kind of figure out how it works, but also it's sloppy when I'm on a show and I'm like, well, if you want to learn about me, you go here, and the podcast is here, and then adaptive growth is this way. So this is just going to be kind of like the entry thing, right? If you meet me, cool. Like, hey, here are my projects. I don't want to overload you with a bunch of stuff that you're not interested in, but if you're into sales at all, you can probably find something here. You go to that page. It's got John Small Mountain blog stuff. You can sign up for that newsletter. Adaptive Growth, you can sign up for that newsletter. And then the podcast, you can sign up and subscribe. But having all of that on one page, that way I just have to make like one call to action as opposed to overloading people and then they take no action.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I love it. Well, I do the same thing. Join John's Sherpa newsletter. It's at sendfox.com/small MTN, like the abbreviation from mountain, small mountain. And join my accountability group. I have a 30-day accountability group. It's at impactoverattention.com/30 days apply. There's spaces, dashes, anything. Come join me. Let's knock out some goals. And we do stuff similar to here. So, Bill, it's been a good one.
It's been a good week, man.
All right, let's go do some more.
Absolutely.